So let me just start off with the idea of what are the different subqueries, and we'll get back to solve this problem. What are the different kind of subqueries which exist, and which some of you must have definitely used at work, and some of you and some of them maybe you can pick up from this session. So there are actually different types of subqueries available. So if I have to talk about, first of all, why subquery? You write a query, it's a query within a query, right? So we have seen writing subqueries at like something select star from, and then we put a bracket, right? And then I write something, some select query here, write some select query here. And then maybe it can become even more complex. I can write another query within a query, then there is an outer query. And then we also do a where some column in, then maybe again we can write a subquery. So this is one way where we can keep writing queries within a query, query within a query. So the inner query is executed, then it goes to the outer query is executed, then it goes to the query outer than that, and keeps on going up, 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 and your queries get executed in general. That's the general idea of a subquery. What are the subqueries? Kinds of subqueries available. So different kinds of subqueries are this one we call a scalar subquery. There's a column subquery, row subquery, and tabular subquery. So we look at examples of each one of them. So say write a query to list down the subcategories, their sales, which are better than average sales. Okay, so how do I go about it? So if you think about it, we have to write a query and just spend some time, and you'll find your subcategories is there in the products. Okay, here is your subcategory. Is it there in the product? Sales you can find out in transactions. We'll go there in transactions. You can find out sales there. So let's come down. Here is your sales. Okay. There is one more very popular subquery which is called CTE, or common table expressions. And those of you who are writing heavy-duty code must have touched upon CTEs. So the hint is CTE plus scalar subquery can do the job. Let's give it a try. So what I did was I said, like, okay, let's create a subcategory-wise summary of sales, right? So, and then I want to use that summary to compare with overall average. And this one we can do without joins. One what do you say? Rule of thumb is, if you can avoid join, please avoid. Okay, joins are expensive. If you can avoid them, we should. If we create subqueries, then again we're trying to create subqueries, and then we are using subqueries as joins, we should avoid. So what we'll do is we'll look at the application of common table expression here, and how common table expressions are such a neat way of writing code. So let's try it out. Common table expressions start with the with clause. With, let's call this as a subcat summary as, and inside this I know what to write. I think I can give a tab, so that when I'm writing the query, we can very easily identify. We can easily identify that which one is the inside part of it, which is outside. So it really helps. And I'll also try to just give simple tips for writing neat code, so that code is always readable. Every clause starting in a new line, right? Your columns need to be comma, and then columns need to be coming to in the new line. We know which are the two tables to be connecting. So the way I write is that I'll straight away start with the tables which are required, and then I'll populate the columns to be pulled in. So what we are looking for is that transactions and product are going to join. and they're going to join on p dot product ID and p dot product ID. This dot notation is the table dot this, and there's a 2-part notation, there's a 3-part notation. So if you have a schema in the database, if you have a schema, and in database, the database is a collection of schemas. Schemas are logical partitions, and in schema you have tables. So there's a 2-part notation and there's a 3-part notation. So you can give schema dot. So here the schema is DBO. So I can also write DBO dot T dot, but it's not required because that's the only schema. You see here, all these DBO dot, that's your for schema dot table name dot column name, right? So, but if that's the only schema, schema available, we can then avoid that. Otherwise, if there are multiple schemas, then we should follow the 3-part that has performance implication. We'll cover that in the performance tuning tips also. So, but nonetheless, we joined this, and after we joined, what are we needing? We need the subcategory, and we need an aggregation, right? We need an aggregation of sales. The sales is going to come from the transactions table, and also we need to do a group by. We group by p dot subcategory. Right. So once we do that, let's close this. So my subquery is finished, and this is a neat way of writing subquery, because now I can simply use the CTE which I created, and I can just use it as say a table, and it's going to give me this outcome. So what we are seeing is we are seeing the subcategory and the total sales. Next, what do we need is we need an average of this subquery which we have written, and that becomes again so easy. All we have to do is, like, after this, with this one, right? We see after we write this, we say select star from this table. This table is subcat summary, where, right? The total sales is what we calculated from this one. That's greater than. Now, what we're going to use is we're going to use a scalar subquery, and that scalar subquery will be simply select average of what? Average of total sales from the same subquery, which is this one. From this, that's it. Because this is where I've already calculated. We're going to do and this is going to return a single value outcome, right? And if I go ahead and execute this, all we are getting is all the subcategories which are greater than the average sales. If I say straight away go ahead and do this, this is not going to work, right? Because it needs to run in the full context. It doesn't know what is this what is this table here all about, or what is this query all about. So the query is here. Once we create this, it can be further used any number of times, and we can simplify. You see, all we had to do was we had done just one join here, and this join it was necessary because the sales and subcategories are at 2 different places. So if you see this one, this is an example of a tabular subquery actually, right? Because the outcome is tabular, and then we can use that same subquery to create what we call it as a scalar subquery, right? And we can bring both of them together and solve our problem.